Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
We're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Thor Ragnarok.
Which doesn't play as big a role as the title would suggest.
I mean, it's in the climax.
I mean, yeah, it's at the very end of the story, but, like, you'd think that given the build-up that's been hinted at over the last... since Captain America Civil War and stuff, that it would be, like, the main focus, that Thor would be... When I saw the previews of this, what I thought was going to happen was Hela was going to invade Asgard. And the Asgardians would get their asses kicked. And then aliens would come in and attack the refugees fleeing and enslave them. Which would be why Thor was fighting Hulk in one of the other scenes.
Gladiatorial arena.
Yeah, like, which would make sense if... you know, his people had been turned into slaves, and then he'd have to team up with Hulk to fight his way and free all of his people. That is not what happened.
No. What happened was a very fast-moving plot, especially.
Oh my god, it was lightning fast. That was not a pun. That was, god damn it, fuck you.
And also a lot more comedy than we were expecting. There's a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy-esque jokes.
Which...
maybe even too much.
I think personally too much. Particularly given that in the previous movies, and not just, you know, Thor 1, Thor 2, I mean, Thor 1, Thor the Dark World. I'm talking about Avengers. Avengers 2. Actually, yeah, just the Avengers 2. I screwed up when I said Captain America Civil War because that takes place at the same time that this movie does, actually.
That's right. They mentioned them not being Thor and Hulk not being around. And like, yeah, do you know where they are? Well, here's where they were.
Yeah, which does raise some questions later on.
And we are good at raising questions.
Yep. Anyways, so here's how it starts off. We find Thor trapped in a cage, talking to a skeleton,
which conveniently allows him to talk to us.
Yeah. Okay. 2 questions. 1, how did he get in that cage? I mean, it's implied that he let himself get captured so that he'd be brought to Surtur.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel as satisfying to me. Something about it just seems off.
Maybe.
Second off here is... I'm trying to put it into words. Why is he talking to the skeleton? There is no reason for him to talk to the skeleton. No, there's none. Thor doesn't have a history of hallucinating things. He, except for Loki, but that's understandable. Thor doesn't have this previously established characteristic that he needs to explain things to people. So why is he talking to this skeleton and saying, well... dead person who can't understand me. The reason I'm here is blah, blah, blah. Okay, I understand it from a storytelling perspective. But at the same time...
it's a character shift. Honestly, there's a lot of that in this whole movie.
Yeah.
Instead of being the big, you know, strong, stoic kind of guy he's been
a man of good humor, but he wasn't the kind... he was quipping like Spider-Man.
In this movie, you mean?
In this movie. In previous movies, he'd make like a quick quip. Like every once in a while, usually as a badass one-liner. Like saying, now fight the rock monster. Boom. Okay, who's next? Like something like that.
That's like a guy who's hardly even trying to quip. You know, he's just like saying what comes to his mind.
But he comes across kind of forced after a little while.
You just had to accept the idea that he got a blood transfusion from Tony Stark somehow, or, you know, or from Peter Quill.
Yeah, I think Peter Quill would be a more likely candidate here.
Yeah.
So he kills the god of fire, Surtur, and he comes back later. And brings his skull back to Asgard, where it's instantly revealed that Heimdall is... running from the law?
Manning the gate is Scourge, who will play more of a part role later on. At the end of Thor 2, we had Odin was mysteriously gone, and Loki had replaced him in disguise as the new, king, essentially.
Yeah, and when you find out what happens to him, it's kind of lame, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose it was.
Like, I don't know. But, so he goes back and he finds there's a huge-ass statue of Loki in Asgard now, and the king is watching a play called The Tragedy of Loki. And Thor pretty much instantly figures out, with no explanation to the audience, how he knows this, but the king is not the king. He's actually Loki in disguise.
It didn't need a lot of explanation when Loki was just being so freaking obvious about it. I liked Anthony Hopkins' performance as Loki, as Odin. You're like, clearly that's not Odin in there. You're not acting the part Loki. Take it, he got too confident or something.
Yeah.
And he didn't expect Thor to be there that day at all, so there you go.
But here's another question. Why did Loki do this? What was the point?
Of putting on a play for himself?
No, I mean, okay, because he's egotistical in the extreme. But why did he take over as ruler of Asgard? I mean, yes, there's the power and stuff, but what were his positions? What did he want?
Did he want something beyond that, is what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I got the impression that he was deeply unhappy with how Asgard was being run. That it was, like, way too...
nice? Or something?
No, just that he disagreed strongly with the ruling body of Asgard. That he had problems with the king, and they were legitimate problems.
Namely, I forget.
The king decided to not tell him, hey, by the way, you're not my biological son, you're an ice giant I found on the battlefield.
Well, that's more of a family issue than a problem with the way the place is managed in a broader sense.
Yes, but we also get the impression that Loki knows more of what's going on behind the scenes than other people, and that he learned this from his mother, Frigga. The problem with that is that this movie explores into that the Royal House of Asgard has always done this. Wallpaper up their problems. Lie about it. So if Loki had a problem with that, I don't know. Loki being just a hedonistic idiot who just takes over for the sake of power itself doesn't really fit his character. He always has like 3 or 4 other moves planned.
Yeah, he could have used some more depth there. I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Especially as he's clearly just lounging around watching plays.
Of himself.
And like... Yeah.
What was the end goal here?
Was that it? That the end goal was just like hedonism or something and self-praise, and it feels like he deserves better as a motivation.
Yeah, like, I don't know, fixing the tax code.
Maybe something cooler than that, but I know what you mean. Something substantial, sure.
Something that would actually do something for Asgard. He always presented himself as a visionary villain who wanted to change things.
I mean, granted, what was his vision in the Avengers? Take over Earth! Yay!
Okay, that was mostly out of spite for Thor, because Thor loved Earth.
Well, then that should be the thing. He should be planning to marshal an Asgardian army against Earth, right?
Okay,
that would actually be a neat bit. Like, he's going to plant some evidence to make it look like Earth hates us, so we have to go to war on them first. And then Thor has to persuade people that Loki's a liar, and
also Earth really isn't a threat to Asgard. Okay,
well,
maybe
remember the Phase 2 technology, whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, good point.
It was like they were going to be becoming a threat. One of these days they're going to nuke us. Let's hit them first. That sort of thing. That could be a nice, crafty plan of his.
Okay, yeah, it's a shitty plan that wouldn't stand up to even those basic scrutiny, but still.
It'd be a plan. It'd be better than what we had sitting around watching plays.
Okay, yes. So Thor basically reveals that Loki's been impersonating the king the whole time, which I don't really think that a warrior society would let him live for, given that I think it's still a crime in England to impersonate the Queen.
Maybe,
probably. And that's modern England. So guys who carry around swords and spears, I don't think they're really going to take to it.
The issue here is impersonation so much as usurping the king, right?
Yeah, okay, that's...
Like, fact, physically getting rid of him. That is the bigger problem.
And where did Loki take his... Odin? A retirement home in New York.
Which was funny But the thing is, as we mentioned earlier, like, all the individual jokes were fun, and I laughed at them. I laughed a lot during this movie. But then you sort of slick back at the big picture, and you're like,
this doesn't really feel in character for an Asgardian.
like, you know what? Oddly enough, Guardians, maybe both of them, actually, but I was thinking just now, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has a lot more gravitas than this. Even though it's still Guardians of the Galaxy.
Even though it's a story that has...
silly everywhere, but it's still got gravitas.
It's a story that has
spots.
as main characters a baby tree and a raccoon with a machine gun.
Yeah, and it's still, like, that thing at the end was all tragic and stuff.
Yeah, okay, but, okay, Odin being put into an old folks' home doesn't really feel Asgardian.
No.
I mean, when Loki took over the throne when Odin was in his Odin sleep thing in the first movie, his first plan was not, I'm going to erase the ice giant homeworld's address so that we don't have to we don't get bothered by them again. No, it was to blow up the ice giant home planet.
Yeah.
With a death laser.
Yeah. And in order to gain his father's love. Which would not have worked, but, like, okay, at least he had a more complex thing than just power for its own sake.
Yeah, okay. So that's the problem. Loki doesn't really think small. That was his first plan. The next plan we see him execute... Okay, hang on. Technically, the first plan we see him execute is he doesn't like his brother, so he gets him exiled to another planet with no powers. The next plan we see him execute is that death laser from space thing. Then it's ally myself with Thanos to invade Earth with an army. Then it's fake my death to become king of Asgard.
And then it's sit around and watch plays.
It's sit around and watch plays and put my dad in an old folks home. Loki felt nerfed in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I hate Loki. I don't like his character. I don't like his actor. I don't like anything really about him. He's a smug douchebag, and anytime he gets pounded into the ground, I think that's a good scene.
To be fair, that is what you want of a villain, is to not like them, in storytelling purposes.
Really? I like to like villains.
Oh, well, okay.
Because...
But sometimes it's fun to hate them, because that you just said, the Hulk pounding scene in Avengers.
Okay, yes. But here's the problem. Him going, okay, I'm going to mind wipe Odin and stick him in an old folks' home does not have anywhere near the gravitas. I was expecting he's trapped in the pits of hell or wherever Vikings go when they've been bad and they die, and like strapped to a table with acid dripping in his eyes.
Yeah, that thing that used to happen to Loki in the myths. So.
Yeah, like that. That would both have a mythological connection to what he did, what happened to Loki. It would have sufficient gravitas. It would give a reason why Odin fucking dies.
Oh, yeah, it would.
But no, they just find, oh, okay, nope, we find out that Dad's gone because the old folks' home is getting demolished.
Yeah, so then there's a cameo by Doctor Strange.
And really, you could have ejected this entire scene.
You could have. It was fun to see him a little, but it's like, all right, you know, there's not a whole lot of storytelling purpose to that.
And the, what is it called? God damn it. The whole scene, I thought...
Oh, the Sanctum Sanctorum?
Yes. This was hinted at the end of Doctor Strange's movie. I thought that this was going to lead to a team-up where Doctor Strange would be teaming up with Thor in Thor Ragnarok, which would make sense because he's Earth's Sorcerer Supreme. And here's this big mythological event that's going on, Ragnarok.
Yeah, that sounds important.
Yeah, or...
Also, isn't he like the whole universe's Sorcerer Supreme?
Yeah.
So, like, all the 9 realms are in his territory, technically, right?
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
Although, you know, I don't really know exactly how Sorcerer Supreme is defined both in the comics and without the comics. But, so basically he says, oh, okay, your dad's over here. I'm going to dick around with you by manipulating space and time and teleporting you all over the place. Oh, and I'm going to make Loki fall out of the sky after falling for half an hour.
Which was funny, but
again, you're deliberately pissing off a mythological figure. How did Schlock Mercenary put it? Stealing fire from the gods sounds good until you die, and then you learn why gods can afford to be patient. Yeah. You're deliberately trolling the god of mischief. This is a guy who could probably have you, I don't know, have your Sanctum Sanctorum tax audited.
Well, the flip side of that is that, as we said, Loki's been nerfed, so it makes some sense that you can just mess with him, but then, yeah, it's like, well, that just emphasizes that Loki was nerfed, and maybe we don't like that.
So they get teleported to Norway.
Well, before we skip off on Strange, I said all this in the Doctor Strange movie review, but he doesn't have the majesty of Strange, the gravitas.
Yes.
I've always liked this one scene in whatever particular comic it was between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is like keeps trying to quip and make random comments, and then Doctor Strange is like totally not on that level. It's just like, you are an unquiet spirit. And I like that contrast. This is a guy that sees into the beyond like all the time.
Strange is the one who got the Tony Stark DNA infusion.
Yeah, no, he was very much a copy of Tony. We said so in that review. It was like magic Tony Stark,
Yeah.
And I know Tony Stark is great, but Marvel MCU peoples, you gotta have your proper variety. Otherwise, this is not going to work forever.
Agreed.
If I were in charge, I would have set it up years ago. Like, we're gonna end it on Avengers 3 or Avengers 4 or something, so we can move on to other things. Maybe some new characters. That'd be fun. Anyway, so they get dropped off in Norway,
and they go up to their dad, who talks to them for about 5 minutes and then dies.
Yeah, it turns
for
out
what appears to be no reason.
Just old age, I guess.
Well, I'm old. Time to die. And when he dies, it's in a way that is completely different than anything we've seen happen.
To anybody, really.
To any Asgardian in any scene before or after this one. Which is a problem because why? If you don't have rules to establish how these characters function, it just feels like it's random.
A little fake. Yeah. This whole thing reminds me of is sort of like how to keep a bicycle upright, you have to keep it rolling. Except what was keeping the show rolling was mostly comedy. And now we're like at the end of the show looking back at it going, hey, wait a minute. How many of these things like were held up by thin air,
Yeah.
It's not a perfect analogy. You know what I mean?
And this is a very deep, tragic moment for these brothers. Even though Loki was not his biological son, these brothers knew this man for all of their lives. They're now orphans. So, I mean, once you're adults, can you really be orphan? You can
still be an orphan, yeah.
They don't have any parents anymore. Frigga died in the last Thor movie. They barely got to see him again before he passed on. This is a deep and tragic moment. I can't imagine what Loki is feeling at this moment, that his manipulations have basically stripped him from any chance of saying, Father, I'm sorry, or, well, I was right all along, Father. And the reason I can't imagine that is because we are not giving time to imagine it, because immediately Hela shows up.
Immediately. And let's figure out what kind of was going on here for a second, because, so Odin was in an old folks' home, and they mentioned briefly that he was under a spell. So apparently Loki can cast like permanent or semi-permanent mind spells on people that stay there even after he leaves the solar system, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had that ability. He's never used it before.
Which could have been really useful, like,
all the times ever.
Yeah.
Like fighting all the Avengers in New York and just make them all forget what they're doing right now.
Yeah, why did he need the staff if he could just do that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe with Odin, like, he had to spend a lot of time to make it work or something, but it's not, never explained.
Okay.
And also,
Odin, just before he dies, says, oh, by the way, you guys have an older sister and she's a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Have fun with that.
Never mentioned that to you. But also, though, okay, Heimdall only lost his job recently, right?
Right.
Did he never go, with his omniscience or something, become aware of what was going on here at all?
Oh.
Like,
Oh, he was busy running the Pan-Pacific Defense Coalition.
Oh, that was always his side job.
Oh, by the way, best part of this movie, hands down, trailer for the new Pacific Rim movie.
Yeah.
Woo!
It's fun.
I don't care how bad it is. It's going to fill my need for giant robots beating up monsters.
Yeah.
You know who Hela was? She was Rita Repulsa.
She was.
She was frickin' Rita Repulsa from the new Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, very similar.
She had a green and black theme. She has a previously she's a retconned connection to the heroes. She's way more powerful than anyone else and carries around a... Did she carry around a staff? I thought she carried around a staff.
No, she just generated knives wherever she went.
Oh.
She had knife.
Oh, and could randomly grow her armor from nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she is Rita Repulsa.
I've killed rangers before. Oh, wait, you want Asgardian? Well, I'll kill one of them too.
Which, yeah, we'll get to the Ranger connection that gets a little deeper a little later.
A little bit. So yeah, Heimdall apparently never... I guess if he thought Odin was Loki, he didn't, like, go searching for Odin with his vaguely defined omniscience.
Yeah, why did he not do that?
But... yeah, you think Loki would give away the game with all this stupid plays and stuff.
Stupid bullshit. Oh, God. And then, Hela shows up, and she has what is easily the dumbest helmet I have ever seen. I'm not kidding here. I wouldn't... Okay, I'll say, oh, this helmet looks silly. This costume looks silly, but... every time she puts this thing on, she has to look in a mirror and say, yeah, this is the look that I'm going for. This looks good. I can't walk through a doorway without going sideways, but this looks good. Why?
I was actually okay with the helmet for the reason that she's not like a normal human who just decides to put this on and go into combat, and it would be wildly impractical. It's got this air of impossibility about it. It's like, I'm a goddess, and I don't need your freaking rules, because I'll just kill you from 50 yards, you know?
Okay, yes. And this is the same group of gods that thought that Loki's stupid hat was
yes, okay. That's right. That's the connection. They have a stupid hat.
But when you make Loki's hat look okay in comparison, please visit a fashion expert. And naturally, when Hela comes to Asgard for the first time... after throwing both Loki and Thor out of the Rainbow Bridge... Bifrost, which I didn't even know you could do. First thing she does is kill the Warriors 3, my absolute favorite Asgardian characters that aren't Thor.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, how does Hela get to Earth?
Yeah, how does she get to Earth?
Like... she was in some vaguely defined super prison somewhere with no guards on it because the Valkyries are all dead. We'll get to that later.
How was she sealed away?
She just sort of... I mean, Odin's life force is connected to the prison, apparently.
Imagine if Glinda the Good had her bubble thing, but it was evil.
It was the evil bubble thing, and it goes straight to the site of Odin's corpse, not corpse, his absence of a body, which I guess has something to do with the fact that the prison is based on his life force, but freaking Odin was in contact with Stephen Strange, right? Doctor Strange specifically says, well, your father requested privacy. He wanted to remain in exile. Remember this?
Yeah.
So at some point, he got his memory back, met the Sorcerer Supreme, and said, hi, please don't tell my son about the grave threat to our kingdom going on at this very moment.
And hey, Sorcerer Supreme, there's a mad god about to run rampant over the nine worlds.
Right. Two problems. First, that the usurper to the throne of Asgard, and second, Hela's gonna come back when he eventually dies. And it's not... because there is a bit where Stephen Strange says, like, oh, I couldn't reach you anyway, you have no phone. But, like, before that, they establish, oh, I was told not to reach you. Why would you tell him not to reach him? Freaking tell us these things, Odin!
Jeez, Odin, you know you're about to die, and you know your daughter has a murder boner for anything Asgardian. Why would you not tell people?
And you'd think that Doctor Strange could get a message through to Asgard. Like, that seems within his capabilities.
It seems like if Asgard was, like, informed, they could prepare for war. But no, they were busy under the rule of King, I'm going to suck my own dick.
Yeah, you know a great way to prepare for war? Just take that sword out of the Bifrost and sit there. Because unless Hela can do this interstellar transportation thing, maybe she can do... If she can do that multiple times, she doesn't actually need the Bifrost.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's a one-time teleport that takes you from prison to Odin at the moment of his death. Only at that time does it work.
One thing I do like about this movie is that it definitely clarified that Asgard and the Nine Worlds are, in fact, part of the larger universe, and that you can reach these places via spaceship and stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
The Bifrost is just like a
teleportation
network among these 9 worlds and stuff. Which, okay, you know, it was a little confusing before, you know, how, oh, there are 9 worlds. Oh, there's something outside of the 9 worlds. And then you have Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, yeah, we're going to all these different planets.
There are 9 worlds. Have you looked up at those stars? There's more than 9 of them. Okay. Oh, goodness.
Okay, yes, but still, though.
Our counting system stops at 9. I'm sorry. We ran out of numbers.
The legions of Asgard, 9 strong. There's clearly more than 9. Shut up. Okay, so...
Hela's like, bow before me.
Bow before me. No one bows before her. So she kills the Warriors 3, which...
Oh, no, first she breaks Thor's hammer. That's like a...
Oh, yeah, breaks Thor's hammer.
I kept thinking they were going to reforge that. I guess it's kind of nice they didn't, but, like, at some point you think he needs his hammer back?
Yeah, it's kind of iconic to the character, so... He's like Michael Jordan without a basketball. Yeah. Or Bugs Bunny without the carrot.
I'm just imagining Michael Jordan summoning a basketball from a distance now.
Wait, he doesn't have that power? I kind of thought that he had that power.
That would be so cool.
Look, he dueled against the Monstars and saved all of Looney Tune Land. Yeah. So I'm not really going to question what he can or cannot do. He is clearly magic. Anyways, so she says, "Hey, you, guy who's not bowing or trying to fight me. Wanna join me?" It's like, I'm just a janitor, but okay.
I like that he got demoted to janitor in like the 3 minutes between unmasking Loki's scheme and then leaving the planet. Like, by the way, he's demoted to janitor. Like, he just yelled that.
Admittedly, the ruler of Asgard said very specifically, announce if Thor comes back. And he kind of didn't, so...
Well, also, that ruler's rule doesn't matter anymore. I assumed it was Thor who gave the order. That guy's demoted.
Also, the last time we saw him, he was bringing over wenches and, showing off his collection of crap.
Behold, my stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's exactly what he said. That's a quote. 2 of them things being, like, AK-47s are the equivalent.
No, they're like AR-15s or something. I don't really know.
I want to say assault rifle, but I know enough to know that's not actually defined in any way. So, what commonly people would think of as an assault rifle?
Yeah, okay. Like, I basically use the Mass Effect terminology, like SM. So I define guns into Mass Effect terms. Sniper rifle, shotgun, SMG, pistol, and assault rifle.
Those are also Halo terms.
They're also shut the hell up terms.
Point being that she effortlessly kills the rest of Asgard's warriors.
Which, way to show these guys are badass by having them get mowed down by her endless knives ability.
And, like, I get that you're trying to make her a super scary villain. It's just a little weird then that Thor manages to hold his own, at least for a while, towards the end. He is the main character and stuff, so he gets a bonus, but it was like, isn't she, like, that high above you that even your fellow Asgardians are just getting mowed down?
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
Power levels are very vague in comic book stories.
Yeah.
Comic movies.
Yeah.
So she mows them all down, but Heimdall secretly steals the sword of the Bifrost.
Which is the only thing to turn it on. Because when you want a method to turn on your teleportation network, a sword being stuck into an object is clearly the only method. You know, you could have keys or a DNA scanner or anything, but nope, you need a sword.
To be fair, that is very much the Asgardian way.
Okay, yes, laughably impractical Clark tech.
Yes.
So,
and no backup sword in the vault anywhere. No.
Yeah, you don't have like a... I have 2 sets of keys for my car, and my car isn't an Einstein Rosen bridge generator.
Yeah, we should just call it a wormhole. That's what everyone else
Yeah, it isn't a wormhole generator.
It'd be cool if your car was a wormhole. Put that on the bumper sticker. My other car is a wormhole generator.
Why would I need anything else if I had a wormhole generator?
That's a good question. Okay, so she conquers Asgard very easily, and then goes down into the vaults, and passes by that thing that freezes things. I forget what it's called.
I think it's the Casket of Frozen Winters.
Oh, okay. Because it's a blue squarish thing, so I was like, oh, Tesseract. And then later she passes the Tesseract. I'm like, what, they have 2? And you had to explain that to me.
To be fair, I thought the Casket of Frozen Winters was the Tesseract when I first saw Thor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, oopsie.
Yeah, I think I still thought that until just now, actually. That was very vague.
Yeah, it was not well defined, I have to say. Yeah. But it is nice to see this place again, since we haven't seen this place since the first Thor movie. Mm. So it does show a continuity nod. This place exists. And all.
They never replaced the Destroyer, apparently.
Yeah, you know, that's Asgard for you.
Yeah.
Let's build one magical super weapon and then never put it into mass production, even though we could send endless armies of this thing to conquer anyone.
Yep.
And it apparently is strong enough to give, like, this royal Asgardian who has been missing his powers for a few days a hard time.
Yeah,
give me like 20 of these things and we'll kill Hela.
Yeah. So then she goes up to the Eternal Flame, which personally I think could have been made to look cooler.
It absolutely could have.
It was a fairly big flame, but it was like, come on, guys, you got like spaceships in this movie.
Dude,
give me like something awesome.
The Olympic torch is more impressive than this thing.
Yeah, give me an Olympic torch. Actually, she went to the Eternal Flame and like, you know, sampled the fire with her hand a little bit.
Okay, who else? Were you also thinking of that scene from Avatar where Aang and Zuko have to keep that flame lit for the dragons?
Oh, I was not thinking of that at the time.
Because I was.
Though. What I was thinking was that, because she was just commenting on how half the stuff in the vault was fake, including this oversized infinity gauntlet that was just sitting around. And then she smashes the floor to go down to this chamber below.
They never installed stairs?
They never installed stairs.
Okay, well, it is established that, you know, Odin did have a habit of covering up stuff that he didn't want to think about.
Yeah, but I thought it was, oh, that Eternal Flame you just saw was the fake one. And now we're going to go in the basement, and it's all dark for a second until the flame lights up and it takes up like a whole wall. It's like 60 feet tall or something. And like, oh, that's the Eternal Flame. Now I get, no, they didn't have that. But they did have down there was a crypt of fallen warriors, and she resurrects them all with the Eternal Flame, which apparently can do that.
Yeah.
Also, she's the goddess of death, and we were a little unclear if that just means she's good at killing people, or did that aid her ability in resurrecting other people?
And what exactly does god or goddess mean?
It really just means important person. It doesn't seem to have, like, any higher type meaning to it, you know?
I mean, like, Loki is god of mischief. Okay, I'm allowed to say he's also a goddess of mischief because that actually happened in the Thor comics.
Really? What? Loki got
he got turned into a woman.
Wow.
Because shut up, of course he did.
Because why not? All right.
Yeah. That's not even the weirdest thing Loki's done.
Okay.
Seriously, look up mythology. One point he wanted to distract Thor, so he had the most brilliant idea I can possibly think of. I need to distract Thor. Now, being that I am the god of mischief and illusions and deception, I could take the form of a beautiful woman or introduce him to a beautiful woman because, gods and goddesses of this time were super promiscuous and shit. Or, and I think you'll think this is the most brilliant option of all, I'll seduce his horse. And then give birth to the horse's child, which will then become the 8-legged horse Sleipnir. This was a thing. Look it up, people. This is a thing that happened.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I can't
that
even.
wasn't in the movie. That would have been
No, I'm upset that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing. Just like have Loki standing next to like this big wall of his past girlfriends and have a horse on there.
Hey,
He's
it
like,
takes all types,
Comet, my one true love.
Aww.
Your passing was the saddest moment of my life.
Don't.
His mom passes away. No, Comet was still worse.
I gotta give him points for originality. I never heard of that as an evil plan.
No, that is seriously a thing.
Okay.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Wow. Also, random comment before I forget. When they go out looking for Odin, is there some reason Loki isn't already in handcuffs and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's...
Come on, guys.
Well, I think it's because Loki put all his points in the rogue skill tree, so he probably has points in picking handcuffs.
I guess, but come on, they put him in handcuffs at the end of Avengers, and
yeah,
you had the impression they were steady handcuffs or something.
I think there was also the fact that Thor was next to him, ready to smack the ever-living shit out of him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
But remember the shit he pulled in Thor 2 when he walked around without handcuffs and then faked his death and then all this other stuff happened?
Yeah.
See what happens, Loki?
Okay. So, next on the list, Thor falls out of the Bifrost and...
Oh yeah, he gets pushed out or whatever.
Through space or something and out of a wormhole onto Sakaar.
A planet called Sakaar.
Yeah. And then I went to go get popcorn at this point, so you take over.
Oh, you were only gone for a minute. He basically starts walking around and finds some scrappers, some scavengers, and they decide to start beating him up, and they actually succeed at that. Partly due to, and this is Thor's greatest weakness, and I think very ironic. He's weak against tasers. The god of lightning and thunder has a problem with tasers.
This might have some... In the comic, Sakaar actually has ties to another story that is not Thor-based, or at least very distantly, only has a very tenuous connection to the Thor mythos in Marvel Comics. Sakaar is the site where Planet Hulk takes place. And one of its attributes is that it weakens people as they come in. Which is why the Hulk was able to get hurt in the storyline and actually created tension.
Oh. That was definitely not established in this movie.
It was not established, which is a problem.
And I'm not even sure they intended to establish that in the movie, or they're just like, alright, he needs to be in trouble now, so he gets zapped by the taser net thing. And then this girl shows up, who we later actually never learn her name, but you've informed me that her actual name is Valkyrie.
Actually, can you check that?
Yeah, maybe I'll check to see if there's...
Yeah, while he's doing that, I'll continue. She takes care of the junkers or the scavengers or whatever the lowlifes who scavenge shit is.
Oh yeah, she's also known as Scrapper 142, but she wasn't actually called, like, her real name was anything other than that.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good guy, good ruler of Asgard. I need you to come into battle with me to save Asgard. By the way, I'm not going to learn your name. Okay.
Yeah.
So Thor thanks her, and as your welcome present, she decides to shoot him and then plant him with a slave zappy thingy.
A restraining bolt, essentially.
Yeah.
But for people.
And then drags him off to this city where the Grandmaster lives. Now, the Grandmaster is actually the brother of the Collector. from Guardians of the Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy. So I was halfway convinced that we'd see the Collector somewhere in here.
That would have been good. Yeah, I'll give him a cameo. It'd be nice.
Yeah. And then Thor is strapped to a chair and put through It's a Small World.
Essentially, it's like a little ride explaining the plot to him.
Saying, hi, you're on Sakaar. Everything is awesome because of this guy named the Grandmaster. He's our boss and you will love him. There is no leaving Sakaar ever.
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
And then, like, what music was playing? Because it was something I recognized.
It was Small World-esque, but I don't think it was actually that song. It was
God, I'm gonna remember it later.
Yeah.
It's just, and then like he wakes up screaming, and he's still in the chair, and he's in front of the Grandmaster. So it's more humor when Thor has been made a slave. Look, I'm not. We're bashing a lot on the fact that humor is overused in this one. We get it. You're probably sick of hearing that, but again, a little gravitas.
I mean, to be fair, this is still overall so much more entertaining than Thor: The Dark World.
Oh my God, it absolutely is. But
so better to have it funny than to be boring. But like, it still could aspire to more than it was, though.
Yeah. And then, so the Grandmaster is there, and he's played by
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
In a role just tailor-made for him. And
He's not. It's not a role tailor-made for Jeff Goldblum. He's playing Jeff Goldblum if he was psychotic.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's not a role that was made for him. I am willing to bet that they said, okay, we need you to say something along these lines. Now do the Jeff Goldblum thing.
Yeah. And to be, I mean, I liked that he was distinguished from other villains that way. So good for him.
Yeah, okay, he was definitely someone who was memorable, but not in the sense of Dormammu or a Ego the Living Planet. He wasn't really a great threat. He was just, I'm the midpoint boss here to prevent you from progressing further.
That's true. He wasn't the main villain.
Which, okay, I can understand that, but I don't know. First off, I'm not really a big fan of Jeff Goldblum. Second, what I just said.
Okay. Anyway, so Thor learns, because he really can't get out of this chair or resist the tasering, he learns that the only way he's allowed off the planet is if he competes in the gladiatorial arena and defeats the champion. Who I'm a little sad the trailer spoiled me on that. It was a fun
it
trailer.
Absolutely spoiled us. But...
So if you somehow haven't seen the trailer but are still watching this video, stop and go watch for the... Anyway.
If you're watching this, you already know there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
Anyways, so...
so before he actually goes to the arena, though, he hangs out in this freaky circle, we're called.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Turns out that Loki arrived on Sakaar weeks before Thor did and has worked himself into the good graces of the Grandmaster.
And it's weeks before because Sakaar has a different sense of time. It seems to run on a speedier time than the rest of the universe.
Actually, I think I can explain that in a not really timey-wimey scale thing.
Really?
Yeah, wormholes are bridges between different points in space and time. It's entirely possible that by being knocked out of the Bifrost energies early, he could have been knocked a little through time as well.
Yes, but didn't Jeff Goldblum say something like, you'll find that time doesn't work the same here as it does everywhere else?
Yeah, but I ignore most of what Jeff Goldblum says at any given point.
That's another question entirely.
Like, he tried to take credit for being the winner of the revolution that happened, by saying,
him.
"Hey, congratulations, we're all winners here."
It's a tie, yeah.
So you can understand why I'm a little hesitant to trust the word of someone.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he had motivation to invoke timey-wimey for his own weird, evil plans.
He's a weirdo.
Well, he is a weirdo. I'll give you that.
Okay, some people will lie and cheat and steal for basically no reason. Also, he later just, like a scene later, he turns a guy into liquid. For no reason.
Well, the guy had pissed him off somehow. At least it wasn't like he picked a random guy in the crowd.
Yeah, but this is not a guy who's on his meds.
No, okay. Well, I thought the writers, anyway, were trying to establish there was an actual timey-wimey thing with this planet.
Okay, and I have to say something. As someone who recently started playing Dragon Age, his assistant woman who wasn't Valkyrie his right-hand woman reminded me of a dwarf from Dragon Age who was for some reason wearing a yellow version of the Gordon Freeman HEV suit. Okay,
that's what happened to Half-Life 3. She stole his suit. Oh, no.
Okay, so yeah, Thor gets put into this Mobius loop prison thing.
It's actually pretty weird because it looks like a regular circle, and then he runs off screen, and then comes back around the other side, and is all confused. And what's his name? The rock monster is like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a freaky circle, like implying non-Euclidean geometry or something. But from what all we saw on film, it sure as hell looked like he ran in a regular Euclidean circle.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of the freaky part.
And why would you build this for the prisoners?
You gotta put them somewhere while they wait.
Put them in a regular room!
That's true.
That way you don't have to go, okay, yes, I understand that union dues must be paid, and I'm sorry for the family of Bob for looking too deeply at the blueprints and getting eaten by Cthulhu.
Oh, man.
Why would you need a non-Euclidean room as a prison? For people who are Euclidean. I mean, yes. Put them in regular cells. It has to be less expensive to just stick them in a box and put bars on the box.
Yeah, standard thingamajig there.
These we're introduced to character names.
Oh, wait, they're not listed right here in the thing. Oh, well, the rock guy and Meek, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Korg.
Korg and Meek. And I was actually really excited to meet these guys because they were two of the Hulk's cohort in Planet Hulk. Korg actually has ties to the Thor continuity, as his people, Korg's people were actually the impetus for Thor appearing in Thor #1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his people came to Earth to try to conquer it. Thor showed up for the very first time in comics and beat the shit out of them. And when they were trying to escape, they went through a wormhole and wound up on Sakaar. So that is a cool connection. He was a noble warrior. Well, okay, ruthless, but somewhat noble in his demeanor. And it was really cool to see him. And Meek was a member of an insectoid species that lived on Sakaar and was one of the natives. He had a backstory, he had goals and motivations. Naturally, these two characters are absolutely nothing like their comic counterparts. Korg is kind of a weenie who just does the warm-up fights and refers to Thor as Other Doug because he thinks that Thor's going to die to the champion. Meek has no lines and no characterization other than psycho with knives for hands.
He doesn't even much get to use them.
Yeah.
I guess maybe at the end he probably stabbed somebody, but I hardly saw it.
Yeah. So, congratulations on wasting two characters with rich, deep backstories, Marvel.
That is a waste. I will say, having not knowing anything about Korg, walking in, I was kind of refreshing to see a guy made of rocks who's got that kind of weenie voice and personality.
Okay,
like,
from that perspective, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. I also liked when he's initially explaining that he's a living being. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a thing. You know, I'm a person. I was like, oh, you're the thing. I get it. Rocks. Reference.
Hey!
Yeah.
That's a character we can't use because...
Yeah, licensing.
Yeah.
So Thor decides he's going to fight the champion, which apparently it's his choice whether or not to do that. I kind of assume they just throw everybody against the champion. Okay.
Yeah, so they reveal that the champion is the Hulk, ZOMG! Except you would have known that because all the trailers beforehand.
It would have been a great surprise, though, otherwise, I'll tell you. I would not have been expecting it had I not been informed.
I would have suspected it based on the Sakaar and the Planet Hulk references.
Yeah, but see, I don't know those very well.
Okay, so. Yes, fair enough. But before that happens, Thor is trying to pick out some weapons. And he's describing his hammer to Korg, and Korg is comically misunderstanding everything about his hammer. Okay, sure, why not? And then he sees Valkyrie, and she goes, "Hey, you!" And he finds out that she is actually a Valkyrie. Yes, we have a Valkyrie named Valkyrie. Or who doesn't have a name. So he basically says, "Hey, you're Asgardian. Please help me. Since you're Asgardian and you're a Valkyrie, you're sworn to the crown of Asgard. I need your help to get back to Asgard in order to save it from Hela." She basically tells him to fuck off. Which, here's the problem with Valkyrie. She's kind of generic.
She is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to see a strong female character. But at the same time, we've seen this archetype so many times before. Heck, this was done slightly worse with what's-her-face from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Jade?
Wait, you don't mean Rey?
Rey.
Yeah.
She's a scavenger
Yeah,
who
she
is powerful and probably has a connection to the heroes.
So she's the main
member of
hero
an
in that
ancient
case,
warrior
yeah.
society.
Yeah.
They even kind of have the same personality-ish. Except that she has less humor.
Rey's got more vulnerability about her comparatively. But yeah, she fits some sort of generic action girl thing. And I guess some writers are like, "Hey, look, it's a girl who does action stuff." And I'm talking about Valkyrie here. Girl who does action stuff. I'm like, that's interesting enough. We don't need like further characterization. And I'm like, no, you do. Please characterize them more. You know who did a really good job of characterizing, flicking everybody that showed up on screen? The guys who wrote Pacific Rim. You remember, like, even like the weird scientist guy isn't just there to give you exposition. Like, he's got a personality that just pops and makes you memorize it.
Yes.
You know?
Or Joss Whedon.
Or Joss Whedon. Yeah,
Joss
he's
Whedon.
good with his stuff.
He's really good with it. He wrote Buffy.
Yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, that's classic.
I have not really seen it.
I have not. I tried watching it and I thought it was
haven't seen
lame.
it
No, I've seen like the first 4 episodes and I thought it was kind of lame, so I stopped watching.
Okay, well, presumably it's great because everyone tells us it's great.
Okay, yeah. So
And I've liked his more recent work, obviously.
Oh yeah, Avengers.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Firefly,
Oh, Firefly. Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that was really, really great characters there. But this is like, all right, Valkyrie, you're the tough girl, and she has a backstory, and that's nice. It's not developed as much as we'd like, and we'll get to the end of that in a minute.
Okay, so we go to the Grandmaster's box and overseeing the arena for Thor's fight against the champion, and Loki enters the box, this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, bar none. Because Loki had earlier said, "I put a lot of money on the other guy, not you."
And he doesn't know who the other guy is. He just knows he's really tough.
Yeah, which, how the hell do you not know that if you're like, we're super best buddies, and he's never mentioned, "Oh, have you seen my grand champion? He's huge and green."
I don't know. I mean, I just assumed Loki wasn't
The Grandmaster
interested.
struck me as a guy with no filter, so how the hell does he not go, "Hey, here's my grand fighter. Here, want to watch some home movies I made of him disemboweling people?" Because I can see him doing that.
Yeah, I guess I could also see him, though, he was being a bit of a showman, right? He wanted to, like, make a reveal of the Hulk and whatever, and he could have plausibly said to Loki, "Hey, I want to wait till you're at the arena to see the guy."
Which I would buy if Loki wasn't an inquisitive bastard,
Yeah, it's true.
and they weren't having parades in the Hulk's honor.
Well,
with Hulk cosplayers.
They did that later because the Grandmaster ordered them to.
Okay, yeah, but they didn't ever bring out that other shit.
They should have brought that up. Yeah, okay, you're right.
Like, even in the comic versions of World War Hulk, there were people, like, dressing themselves as the Green Scar, which was Hulk's arena name.
I see.
So, they introduce Thor as the Lord of Thunder, and then they bring out the Hulk, and Loki goes, I want to be off this planet right now. I need to leave this planet right now.
I love how he puts the phrase, "this planet," in there. Like, not just the area.
The entire the entire time that the Hulk is out there and fighting Thor, he is freaking out. He's just like right. I need new pants now.
Remembering everything from the Avengers. Everyone loved that scene.
Everyone loved that scene.
Even Joss Whedon's director commentary on the Avengers. When he gets to that part, he's like, I'm just going to shut up for a while. And then he lets it happen with no commentary at all. And he's like, yeah, that happened.
That was listed in at least one magazine as in the top 5 greatest movie moments of all time. And they have to call back to it because
Roger Ebert would disagree with you on top 5, but it was certainly among the the cadre movies. So yeah,
Roger Ebert can like suck it because it involves a boisterous idiot getting bitch slapped and slammed into the ground over and over again.
And they really earned that, you know.
They earned that. Yeah. They earned that.
So anyway, Thor does his bits from the trailer. It was like, yes, we know each other. He's a friend from work. And that is funny. And then Hulk wants to fight him anyway for some reason. And I thought
because he's Hulk.
Well, I don't know. He was on our side before.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, we don't know how long he's been here. This Hulk seems to have mysteriously undergone some sort of character transformation that allows the Hulk to actually have a personality as opposed to indescribable rage machine, and is capable of holding conversations. So it's entirely possible that he likes the roar of the crowd more than he likes Thor.
Yes, it is an inexplicable change though, because we saw 2 modes from Hulk previously. One was random rage machine when he was manipulated into transforming and he tore up the inside of the helicarrier.
Yeah.
And then second was the hero on our side thing when he intentionally transforms and he takes orders directly from Captain America and he doesn't go crazy. He just smashes stuff that needs to be smashed. You know?
So this is a new form.
So this is like a third version that's just a completely different personality, separate from Banner, has his own motivations, and it didn't really make any sense when you think about it.
It does if you consider that the Hulk has always had multiple forms, based on the fact that Bruce Banner is a mentally ill person. He has multiple personality disorder, except that all of those personalities are the Hulk. Like, and different ones had different advantages. Like, there was the smart guy who was created by Dr. Samson, who had all of Banner's intellect and all of the Hulk's strength. There was Mr. Fix-It, who wasn't as smart as Banner, but wasn't as tough as the Hulk, while still having, like, a bit of both. There's been Mindless
Red
Rage
Hulk
Machine.
At some point.
That's a different person.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's actually General Thunderbolt Ross, so...
Oh, crap. Well,
yeah.
never mind.
And then Betty Banner turned herself into Red She-Hulk. It got weird.
Ha. Who is regular She-Hulk?
Jennifer Walters.
Oh,
she is also Bruce Banner's cousin, and quite frankly, a better version of the character than... like, you would really expect, given that she's basically a Distaff counterpart.
Yeah, I've heard she's got some good storylines.
Oh my god, I loved her comic series where she was a lawyer for a metahuman law firm. That was amazing, because she worked with, like, the Thinkers robots and helping dispute a territorial dispute between a businessman who wants to drill for oil and mole people. Some bird people had like a skylight they came in through, and they were discussing like with the FAA about the travel lines. That is cool shit. I want to see more of that. But we're getting off topic.
All right. Point is though. Oh, so he's fighting him. And Thor tries to tell him, like, don't fight. And I had assumed from the trailer that the deal was that the Hulk had been mind-controlled or amnesiated or something, so he had no idea what was going on and just, you know, didn't recognize Thor. And he seemed not to recognize Thor during the fight. And I thought, oh, maybe that's what's going on. He'll have, like, a chip in his brain or something if you turn it off later. The fight goes on. Thor gets a few hits on him. Mysteriously upgrades halfway through by having a vision of Odin, and then his eyes turn all lightning eyes. I'm like, oh, is that a thing? Could you have always done that? Does it only work after Odin dies? Like, what do you?
That wasn't super.
Because it wasn't like it's personal. Like something became really important to him on an emotional level, and that just pushed him into Super Saiyan. It was like, I don't know, I'm about to get beaten.
Okay, but when are you going to have an adrenaline surge and unleash power you never thought you had? When you're normal, or when the Hulk is about to turn you into Jello?
Right, but from a storytelling perspective, it should be like when he sees Asgardians in danger, or the city starting to crumble, or something really personal and meaningful, and not just like, oh, my own personal survival.
You know what is like personal and meaningful? His face!
Yes.
And his desire to not have it splattered across half the cosmos!
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So he nearly beats Hulk, but the Grandmaster cheats and tasers him, which even in his upgraded form, he is still vulnerable to tasers.
Which makes me think that this wasn't actually a taser, because that would make absolutely no sense.
It just really acted like one, though. They had the noise and everything.
Yeah, so maybe it's like a nerve thing, or it was like chemical based,
Radiation,
or maybe it like interferes with the nervous system.
That's what tasers do technically, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but
in a different way somehow.
Yeah, in super sciencey methods.
Super sciencey. So he gets knocked out, and he next wakes up in Hulk's apartment with no explanation. And the best we could come up with is that the Hulk decided to spare him, and/or Grandmaster decided to spare him, and instead of getting him his own room or putting him back to the not freaky circle, he goes to Hulk's apartment, and the Hulk is in a hot tub, and they like have a conversation, and in that conversation, Hulk's like, everybody on Earth hates me, and I'm like, wait, Hulk, do you remember Earth? Do you remember teaming up with this guy that you hate now for some reason? Because you were totally a hero before this, Hulk.
Yeah, but you can also understand where the Hulk's coming from. He busted his ass, and everyone was terrified of the Hulk. Here he busts his ass, and everyone loves him. I can very easily see the Hulk going, fuck Earth.
The last time...
Especially given how simplistic Hulk's mindset is.
Well, yeah, he does have a simplistic mindset. But, he was part of our group when we were dealing with Ultron and everything. And there wasn't a theme going on there where he became, increasingly reluctant to do anything because he kind of hates humanity. He was just a member of the team. And now suddenly he has a problem with humanity. Well, when did that happen?
Maybe it happened in the first Avengers film when they said, don't worry, I don't have a gun. And it turned out they had a frickin' army pointing guns at him.
Yeah, but then he teamed up with him anyway. Remember this?
Yes.
And he fought Loki and all that.
Yes. But a lot of what the Hulk remembers is either having to fight people who he's had to save before, or stuff like that. I can understand why Hulk's simplistic mind would appreciate people cheering for him.
Maybe it just seemed underdeveloped to me.
It absolutely was.
Oh, okay.
I'm just trying to make the argument that it's at least understandable where the Hulk is coming from, wanting to stay here.
All right. So we also find out that Hulk is friends with Valkyrie, and they train together and stuff.
Why? I thought she was just a junker.
Apparently, she also has him as a workout buddy or something. What are the odds on a whole planet these two people happen to know each other? She is an Asgardian, yeah. So she's
I bet she spent some time in the gladiatorial arenas too.
Yeah, she may have done that. Yeah. So next, frigging, he talks to Hulk some more. Was there anything else in the middle there?
Let's see. Hela names Scourge as her executioner.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna get...
Scourge is doing this whole thing where he's, increasingly reluctant to do evil things.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not enough. He doesn't show any reluctance in, trying to push against the boundaries. He basically does whatever is told to him. He's just kind of half-assed doing it.
Well,
he doesn't really show much in the way of true regret until his life is directly in jeopardy from the zombies invading the spaceship.
Yeah, though it was heavily implied that he also cared about the lives of the fellow Asgardians on that spaceship.
Yeah, it just could have been a little more explicit.
Could have been a little more.
His character arc could have been developed a little better.
Yeah. I will say, that bit where he's supposed to execute that one woman, he clearly hesitates, and yes, he raises the axe, but he gets interrupted before he would have actually swung it. And I like to think that maybe he would have changed his mind just before swinging it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. See, he had such a good line earlier. What do you desire? I want to prove myself. There! You could build an entire character out of that statement.
And they did, just not with a lot of scaffolding.
Just not with a lot of skill, not with a lot of scaffolding. They could have done so much more with Scourge, but they didn't. Well. Anyway, so Hela basically enacts martial law, and we fight. Then the scene skips to.
Oh, and Heimdall's in the mountains hiding the Asgardian civilians, which apparently they have those.
Yeah. Which brings into my question, where exactly did this whole god thing go? But I don't know. So Heimdall rescues civilians and brings them into his secret mountain lair, which is also apparently Moria.
Which is also apparently frigging Hela never thought to check there.
Yeah, dude, it is.
It's like the next mountain over. It's like right there.
It's like the mountain at the center of the island and stuff. And yeah, I didn't realize that this was a frickin' island in space.
Yeah, it's like a flat world thing.
Yeah, why? There are planets. They're round. They don't have an edge you can fall off.
Though the Asgardians would find that all badass, wouldn't they? I'm gonna fall off the edge because I'm super cool, and they land on Mars someday.
Yeah, they'd be dead. But wait, how the hell did Loki survive that?
Oh, when we dropped him off the Bifrost in the first movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Did he wind up on Sakaar then? Does everyone wind up on Sakaar when they fall off of things?
Huh.
That's weird.
Actually, yeah, that would make sense.
I mean, he didn't mention having
it
gone
would,
the place,
it
but
would
story-wise,
tell,
it would sense, yeah.
it would tell Loki, it would give Loki an idea of who the Grandmaster was and how he could worm his way into his graces in just a few weeks. Huh. And then, he tried to get off planet and was intercepted by Thanos or something. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways. Thor tries to have a conversation with Valkyrie. Valkyrie chugs a bottle of booze.
Very quickly.
Thor tries to escape, ruined by comedy, then actually escapes.
Well, yeah, he manages to get the remote control of the taser, which is a smart bit of him. Mm-hmm. Also, apparently, there are no other remote controls to that taser, because he frees the entire slave population.
Yeah. Why was she allowed to have that?
And freaking just nobody else had a backup control. Okay, fine. I mean, yes, later he teams up with Loki, who's got all the security codes, but still nobody had a backup to Thor's whatever.
Neck thingy,
restraining bolt.
Okay,
taser.
Here's another question. How did the Quinjet get to Sakaar? Okay, it's implied it flew through a wormhole. Why has no one noticed a wormhole on Earth?
Right, when he gets to the Quinjet, and Hulk follows him and then de-Hulkifies after seeing a video of Black Widow. Which, by the way, I did kind of like them. He was trying to use the trance phrase or whatever you want to call it. Hey, the sun's going down, and he's going to calm him down during the fight, and then he beats him up anyway.
And later on, shot-for-shot remake of the Loki smashing scene, that was amazing.
Yeah, and Loki's like, yes, that's how it feels. And then later he keeps going, the sun's coming down, shut up already. It doesn't work when you do it, But okay, he de-Hulkifies and has no memory of where he's been the last couple years.
That's got to be traumatic.
Yeah, and we're told it's been 2 years in Earth time, which, given my assumption about Sakaar actually running on different time, was wait, hasn't he been here for decades then in Sakaar time? Or I'm confused. But okay, whatever. And then he looks at the log, and there's a video of Hulk tumbling out the back of the jet that's apparently pointed up at that point.
Why?
Well, yeah.
And how did the plane land totally intact? And if it was repaired by someone, why did they put it into a junkyard and in perfect condition and not upgrade it or wipe any of the computer memory or anything?
Yeah, or scrap it for scrap. Yeah, when we last saw Hulk on that Quinjet, it was, to me, heavily implied that he was conscious of what he was doing. He deliberately hits the button to turn off the thing, and he's going to go fly, because it's a classic Hulk trope, to go fly to some remote part of the world and stay there all by himself where he can't be a danger to anybody, and then inevitably somebody happens to wander by and start shooting people and he has to Hulk again. That's happened a dozen times at least in
you're underestimating it easily.
It's his only thing. Anyway, so it's like, okay, he's gonna go land in some, like, remote island or the middle of a forest somewhere or whatever. And no, somehow he manages to go to space. It's not a Quinn spaceship, it's a Quinn jet. And I know that they have high tech at the Avengers, but I don't know they had spaceships.
Yeah, I don't think they had wormhole generators on these things.
No. So...
And furthermore, when Hulk went to Planet Hulk, he was sent there deliberately by Reed Richards and his colleagues. It wasn't like, oh, Hulk's just in space now. There was a thought process behind it.
I think there's a quote we need here, and that's, why is he in space? There's no reason for him to be in space. Though in the original it was they, and, you know.
Yeah, you know. Okay, so...
On the contrary, my dear Fatso, there's every reason for Hulk to be in space.
Okay, so Banner and Thor are running around the city where the Grandmaster has said, okay, guys, Thor has kidnapped my best fighting person. Okay, dude, do you know anything about the Hulk? If he was kidnapped, you would see the destruction from orbit.
It is possible he's aware of the transformation possibility?
It's possible. So, for absolutely no reason, go out in the streets and cosplay as the Hulk.
I know, what was the point of that? It was so dumb.
So, on this alien planet where they're having a parade full of people dressed as the Hulk...
Woo!
And there's a sentence you never thought you'd ever hear me say, or anyone say, because it's stupid. They basically trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? What do we do? We're fucked. Until Valkyrie...
Yeah, remind me where they couldn't just fly the Quinjet away?
I mean, they explain it later, but they have no reason to know that now.
Yeah.
Maybe Hulk busted the Quinjet too badly when he was detransforming.
Yeah, but they didn't, like, say that out loud. It was a
or if they
weird.
did, we missed it, so...
Oh, and in the middle there, somewhere, Thor contacts Heimdall psychically, who allows him to see through his eyes, so you can find out what's going on in Asgard. Which is another Heimdall power I didn't know about, but okay,
yeah,
Heimdall, you can do that.
Also, what's up with the civilians in this scene? Like, did they just think that Heimdall's just monologuing to himself? Oh, great, the only guy who's protecting us from the crazy bitch is gone and mad.
I mean, maybe they're used to that by now. Maybe Heimdall's having conversations all the time with random people.
Okay, I can see that. Never mind. Never mind, then. But if that had been established, then sure, fine. Whatever.
That's a neat little character detail to put on Heimdall. Like, every time you walk by, like, he's just having a conversation with nobody, and you just, like, I wonder what the other half of that conversation is. You know? But anyway.
Okay, so, moving right along, then, Valkyrie takes them back to her apartment, and earlier, she and Loki got into a contest with the Grandmaster. Whoever got Hulk and Thor back first would not be publicly executed.
Yeah. So there's motivation
so
for it.
Loki,
and then Loki and she get into a fight.
Loki and Valkyrie get into a fight, and Valkyrie wins, but not before we see why Valkyrie is the way
Loki reads her mind. This is a Loki power I didn't know about.
Okay, well, he's the god of mischief and illusion, so I can kind of see him.
It was thematically related, I'll give you that.
It's thematically related, so I can see him having that power. Yeah. It's not like if Thor suddenly said, "Halt! I have cured your diabetes," and then just walks away.
That would be odd.
Okay. It would be odd, but thematically I can see where it comes from. Apparently, the Valkyrie Corps, which is different than the Green Lantern Corps by virtue of not being awesome, decided to fly straight at Hela in a frontal attack a long time ago. Wait, does this mean Valkyrie is older than Thor by, like, a lot?
Yeah, actually.
How is she not, like, really old?
I don't know.
She'd be like Frigga's age, right?
Yeah.
So why does she not look like she's the same age as Frigga?
Maybe that's a side effect of being a Valkyrie?
Yeah, maybe Frigga was just ugly.
Okay, but what she had told us was that Hela was in her poorly defined prison and was trying to break out, and Odin sent the Valkyrie Corps to, like, stuff her back in, and I guess double lock it this time. And then we see the Corps flying in. They're all on Pegasi, which is really cool.
Okay, it is really cool. Here's the problem I have with this scene. One, it militarily makes no sense. Okay, everyone, get into melee range with the woman with infinite knives.
Yeah.
Two, our only method of transportation is a thing made of meat. I don't know. I'm just thinking that maybe an F-15 might have been better. It has guns.
I mean, it's better than the enemy aircraft we had in Thor 2. Remember those things?
Weren't those boats?
Those, no, like...
No, sorry. Those are Asgardian planes. Boats.
Maybe, but I don't know.
And we get to see everyone except for Valkyrie getting slaughtered brutally in this very stupidly planned frontal assault.
I'm not sure what other direction you could have assaulted her from. She was
The back? The top? You have,
I
like,
mean,
360 degrees in every direction but down.
That's true. Okay, maybe they could have surrounded her. I'll give you that.
Okay, now... She's sitting alone on top of one of her stupid spears. So what we're going to do is fly at 30,000 feet above her and drop a hydrogen bomb on her.
Yeah.
You know, in the first Gulf War, we could put smart bombs into individual rooms into various buildings.
Yeah.
I think that given that this is supposed to be a society where they have, like, Clark Tech magic, maybe you have something better than pointy piece of metal for your... super advanced warrior corps.
That's the trouble with mixing Clark Tech with, you know, a very specific aesthetic that we're going for here. Because them just sitting around, like, you know, programming missile launches would not look very Asgardian.
It would be awesome.
It's got, like headphones on and stuff. Like, alright, I have the coordinates. Beep, beep, beep. And it just fires off into space.
Yes.
I worked for the Valkyrie Missile Corps. She's got like a patch, you know.
Yeah, she's drinking an espresso, but still totally in all the armor. She got the winged helmets. They're like standing around the water cooler. Verily, I saw that you went home with Madeline last night. A lady never kisseth and tells. Ah, there's a conquest worth having. Smashes their glass against the floor. May you and your beloved meet again in Valhalla someday. He drinks it. Except there's a water cooler. He's just a mead cooler. I would watch that.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Right, we need an Asgardian work.
Asgardian Missile Command.
Asgardian Missile Command. Yeah, no, okay. We can make a little comic or something about that.
Forsooth, who let the Pegasus through here, and why did they not clean up the apples? The road apples, I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And there's a woman who throws herself in front of Valkyrie, and here's the thing. There was an interview that said that there was the MCU's first bisexual character. I'm assuming they mean openly bisexual because, you know, I'm not going to assume that every single person in every single crowd shot was...
Oh, yeah, a bisexual character that has a name. Except she doesn't have a name, so never mind.
So this is actually kind of... this. You know, they touted this as, like, our first bisexual character. But first off, they don't make it explicit at all. I'm basing this on...
Not at all. I wouldn't have known a thing if you hadn't said it to me.
I'm basing this on guesswork. That the woman who sacrificed herself was, in fact, Valkyrie's lover. If that, and not just, I'm a good friend of hers...
Or just a random person who happened to get in the way.
I mean, because they're a corps of warriors. They do that shit for each other. I mean,
Valkyrie vaguely mentions, I lost everything. But everything is like, you know, your whole corps. So I didn't know if that one person meant anything to you specifically. You never mentioned her by name.
You never mentioned anything about, like, I lost my beloved...
You never mentioned your own name.
Rikaya or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Viking name. Fine, it's a Viking name. I'm calling it now.
Rikaya. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Rakaya or something. I lost my dear Rakaya. But no, we got nothing about that. So all we know is you were the only one who survived fighting Hela. And yet you want to go back and fight Hela.
Well, first she doesn't.
You're just eager on pressing your luck.
She changes her mind. Okay, well, one of the things that messed with me in that scene was you couldn't tell, how to say this, strategically what was going on. I don't just mean your angle of attack thing. I mean... supposed to be putting Hela back in her prison. Where is the prison in this seed? Like, is there a box somewhere they're pushing her in? Is there like a mystic chain they have to chain her up with?
And given how
is there
badly
a thing
this
going on anywhere?
And given how badly this failed, how did they get her back in the prison to begin with?
Right, because
did Odin just come in and not tell anyone he did this shit?
It should be that they're pushing her back into like the magic zone or something. And in that last stroke, just before she's permanently imprisoned, she throws the knife and kills that second to last Valkyrie. And the Valkyrie, whose name is Valkyrie, survives. You know, the sense of like, oh, we accomplished this. You could see the making the accomplishment, but also the terrible loss that occurred. And there wasn't. We were just informed separately that like, oh, she was in a very poorly defined prison.
So the only strategy, again, a poorly defined prison, and the only strategy they seem to have is clog the enemy's line of fire with our bodies.
Charge of the Light Brigade with wings.
The Light Brigade succeeded in their mission.
Well,
I don't know what
succeeded too. They just had a higher death count.
We don't even know if they succeeded.
No, they did though. Okay, either they succeeded or they were entirely pointless, and Hela was never going to break out to begin with. I presumed it was they succeeded. It just was not very well shown to us visually.
Or Odin just stepped in and said, shit, I thought these guys could handle it, and said, fuck it, you're back in the prison.
So he can just imprison her under his own power? Wow, that's a terrible dick move for him to send the Valkyries when he could have done it himself.
Well, he's got king shit to do.
I guess.
Okay, so then... Valkyrie gets some vague hinting that Bruce Banner seems really familiar and he might have some secret that he's hiding.
Did we even mention that Valkyrie found them on the street yet? Because she did.
Valkyrie found them on the street.
Oh, yeah, they went through the apartment.
And then that shit happened.
And then, at what point did she change her mind? She was very strongly, no, not going to help you out. I don't want to face Hela again. I lost everything the first time. And then she makes this short speech about how, like, screw Hela and I will fight. And I'm like...
Okay,
when did you change exactly? This is a major moment for you.
Congratulations, you failed in a plot point to Mass Effect 3, where they explained this shit. There was a character there named Javik. He's the last of his people, like Valkyrie is. He's a proud warrior, like Valkyrie is. He fought against an impossible threat, and all of his friends died, like Valkyrie. And he carries around a shard of Prothean technology that contains the memory of his friends. Like Valkyrie... Oh, wait, no, never mind. That part is not like Valkyrie. Now, in the game, there's two options. You can persuade him to let the past die, and then he just hangs onto the memory shard for the lulz.
So he can look at it, yeah.
Yeah, just so he has a memory of his past and stuff. But he doesn't actually access the memories. If he does, he gets all of the memories of his friends dying and all of the things he'll never see again. So he says, after the war, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
So you could have had something like that where it would have okay, since Loki showed her that memory, she got her resolve back. But that was not made explicit at all.
Yeah, that would have been a nice thing to touch on. Also, we discussed earlier before we recorded the idea of her, and this is just to give her more depth and not necessarily to explain the moment of change, but give her not just a resolve to go fight the villain, but also a battle death wish, because that's a classic Viking thing to want to die in battle. And that would give her so she'd have this element of survivor's guilt and all that. And there's something kind of psychologically unhealthy going on, but you would understand for what she's been through, and she's transformed it from straight up depression into doing something useful, but also a desire to die. And that could come into play in the climax where, she's about to take one last risk or something, or be doing an unnecessary act to really, hurt Hela even more, and Thor saves her and says, no, live to fight another day, and there could be another little character building moment between the two of them, and never happened exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so they decide. Oh, by the way, Hela had earlier beaten up Loki and has him chained up in her apartment because she can just do that.
Loki rather casually mentions the idea of freeing the Beast, which he should not be so casual about that when we previously established how scared he is of the Hulk. But, okay. So they decide
that will never not be funny. That anytime I'm feeling sad, I can just watch that clip and I will laugh my ass off.
Yeah. That's a good one. But so they figure the one wormhole that will take them apparently straight to Asgard is the big one. The big red one nearby. And they need a better ship in order to get there.
It's called the Devil's Anus.
I'm trying to skip that. But yes. And they have to go steal the Grandmaster's private yacht ship because it's better for wormhole
private
travel.
orgy ship.
Yeah, that too. Because it's better for wormhole travel, I guess.
Yeah.
So while they're off doing that, Thor and Loki have some time together to talk about their past a little. By the way, Thor has a little moment. This is kind of one of those funny moments that doesn't quite add up when you think about it, where they're discussing between Thor and Bruce and Valkyrie whether or not Loki can be trusted to help them out with this plan. And he's like, oh yeah, there was this time when I was very young and Loki, transformed himself to look like a snake because he knows I love snakes, and I picked it up, and then he transformed back and he's like, oh, it's me, and then he stabbed me. And it's funny that like Loki's so over the top evil, but then I'm also like, hey, wait a minute. As of Thor 1, Loki was not known to be the bad guy at the beginning, right? Thor was like totally shocked that his brother could ever do anything evil. And now it's all retconned that like he was evil since the age of 5, like almost like a chibi version of Loki,
Well, he has been known as the god of mischief for thousands of years on Earth.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that this wasn't his first time being, a manipulative dick.
No, but
maybe this is.
You might have.
But you've seen how tough Asgardians are, so a stab wound might just be like,
I don't know how tough Asgardians are. They get mowed down by an AK-47 later.
No, okay, okay, so
yeah, keep this in order.
So they go through the Devil's Anus, and dwarf woman crashes, sob. And they go back through the wormhole, and they're at Asgard again.
Oh, we forgot to mention they leave Loki behind. Because Loki attempts a betrayal, and Thor was smart enough to plant a taser on Loki's back, and tases the heck out of him.
The slave implant thingy.
Yeah. So he's like, all right, Loki, goodbye.
And to cover their escape, they also begin a revolution against the Grandmaster.
Oh yeah, all the slaves rise up.
Yeah, which I don't know why Krog?
Yeah, I think that's Krog.
I don't know why he trusted Krog. He said very specifically, I tried to start a revolution, but I didn't have enough pamphlets, so only my mom and her boyfriend came. That is not you are not Mao Zedong. So it turns out that the revolution basically consisted of these guys running straight for the Grandmaster's private vehicle collection and hijack what looks like a battleship, and fly away with it, bringing Loki along with.
And also everyone else rebelled too, because we see the Grandmaster.
Yeah, because we didn't see that at all.
There really should have been a massive crowd scene at some point. Like everyone rebels, Yeah. We're all sick of this. That would have been cool, but also expensive to film, so it didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay, so that means that's Thor and Loki and... Thor and Bruce and Valkyrie are all at Asgard now in the spiffy new ship.
By the way, Bruce has this thing where he's afraid if he turns into the Hulk, he'll stay that way forever.
And if it sounds like we're just bringing this up at last minute, that's basically what it feels like in the movie too.
Yeah.
Okay, so stuff happens, and Thor goes to fight Hela, even though the last time they fought, she basically obliterated him, and she wasn't even tapping into Asgard's power at that point, so...
Yeah, that's another thing. Her power is tied to Asgard, as in the physical place, and Odin says once she returns to Asgard, she will be invincible, which, okay, granted, the way they end up beating her was more than just fighting double hard, so, okay.
Okay. In the meantime, the others start modifying their orgy ship into a gunship, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they warn Heimdall to get the people through the Bifrost to somewhere else. They never mention where they're going. I can only assume they're going to Earth. Except that they're trapped. Fenrir, the wolf the size of a dump truck, and the legions of the undead that Hela summoned up are at both ends of the bridge and have them trapped in between.
Oh noes.
I mean, for a while there, I was gonna make it into a big question of how does the omniscient Heimdall get himself stuck in this trap, and then it turns out he's not stuck at all, because a little later, those other rebels and Loki show up at that exact point, and Heimdall saw them coming. So good for you, Heimdall.
Yep. Although we finally have Bruce deciding it doesn't matter if I could be stuck as the Hulk forever. This is what a hero does. He leaps from the ship, and it's obvious that he's planning to turn into the Hulk mid-jump.
Yeah, which he's done in the comics before.
And he lands as Bruce Banner, slapping into it with the sound of wet meat hitting the pavement. So even like Fenrir, this massive wolf monster, is just kind of like, okay, this is happening, I guess. I'm going to go around you, Kay. But, of course, Bruce turns into the Hulk and starts fighting Fenrir and eventually throws him off the edge of Asgard.
So that's cool.
Why is it that we... oh, wait, they did kill them. Okay, never mind. I was about to ask, why is it that super good guys always prefer to imprison their heroes for, 10,000 years, and then, the new batch of untrained heroes who have no idea what they're fighting have to actually kill them? Mm. But they did kill Fenrir and, all those other warriors, so... that was the plot point. They were dead.
Yeah. Also, the only way to kill off Hela turns out to be a big cost that the Asgardians might not have wanted to pay.
Yeah.
So Thor. Apparently, this is a thing, by the way. When you sit in Odin's throne and you tap his staff, then it's audible throughout the kingdom. Because, remember, she's, visiting the mountain stronghold.
So, pray that the king never has ADD. Shut up!
So she comes back
Father,
to the palace.
I love you, absolutely, but I'm going to have to kill you now.
She comes back to the palace, and they fight. She's waiting. She takes one of his eyes, and he still is missing an eye at the end of the movie. That was interesting. He upgrades into Thor Super Saiyan mode and zaps her a lot, which doesn't actually kill her. I was grateful for that. It was okay, too. I thought it was just be I zapped you double hard, so I win. Really? That's it? Oh, great.
Yeah, okay, so it wasn't that, which is very good.
We did kill off her undead army.
Yeah.
Speaking of undead armies, the AK-47s show up in the form of Scourge.
Scourge, his moment in the comics is awesome. He's known as an idiot, but he holds the line against Hela's monsters at a bridge. And it's a very touching scene where the narrator says that Scourge was basically a moron who didn't really do anything important, but he did this and saved all of our lives. So whenever anyone asks, what did Scourge do, they will say, he fought at this bridge, and that is all they will ever need to say about him.
Yeah, that sounds like a neat moment.
Oh, it absolutely is. The problem with this scene is that Scourge, like I said, I don't feel that Scourge he's actually a good guy the whole time, struggling with his conscience thing, was really well explored, and it just kind of felt self-serving in the end.
Yeah.
Which is not the heroic sacrifice that I think they were going for. That's just how it comes across to me. You said that you saw it differently. That's okay.
I still understand it could have been developed a lot better.
The problem is that earlier in the film, one of Scourge's things is dual wielding these assault rifles. I think it's AR-15s.
All right, fine. AR-15. Let's call it that.
Hang on, look up the AR-15.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, fine.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's AR-15. Yeah, it's an AR-15.
Okay, cool.
He's dual wielding these AR-15s, and he's killing off Asgardian zombie soldiers.
Yeah, as if they were human.
He's blowing them in half, turning them to dust. It's kind of awesome, but the problem is that I seem to recall Loki shrugging off bullets with his armor in the Avengers movie. I seem to recall Asgardians being really frickin' tough. I seem to recall Thor going toe-to-toe with Iron Man. I seem to recall Captain America beating the absolute shit out of Loki, and Loki not flinching. So why is it that some guns from Earth are suddenly capable of hurting Asgardian warriors?
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that it's been millennia, and so their armor has degraded. At the same time, we've seen nothing that really says their armor and skills are any worse than that of modern Asgardians. So the bullets shouldn't really have affected him.
Yeah, it's not like he's using a special Asgardian AR-15, which would be silly.
He said he got them from Texas.
Yeah.
Now, if he said, oh, I got these bullets from the master of the forge, or I made these bullets myself because, for some reason I forgot the bullets in Texas.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
But no, again, there's plot holes that could have been filled up, but...
And then when he kind of finishes shooting them, and then he jumps off the ship after them, and it seemed like a senseless sacrifice to me. Like, they were off the ship at that point. You could just stay on the ship while the ship leaves.
Yeah, but it's...
He wanted to personally confront Hela.
And it's fitting with how his sacrifice went. He was standing on top of a pile of enemy corpses, out of ammunition, so he's literally beating them to death with his gun.
That is a thing.
That it was an awesome moment, and they tried to recreate it here. I know what they were going for, but the problem is that it just wasn't that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Hela just kills him with one of her infinite knives.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll notice I say that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so then... Oh, they're standing on the bridge, our remaining characters, and they actually come up with a clever idea of how to beat Hela. Her power is tied to Asgard. We need to nuke Asgard.
We need to destroy Asgard. So at the beginning of the film, Surtur said, okay, the prophecy states that my head will be placed in the living fire. I will grow to the size of a mountain, and I will destroy Asgard utterly. Sir, we were pretty sure that wasn't going to happen, considering that, Thor cut off Surtur's head. But he brought the head back. So Thor tells Loki, go to the armory, grab the head of Surtur, and throw it in the living fire. Also, we see Loki pause and look at the Tesseract, so I'm pretty
sure he swiped it. He's freaking Loki. Even if he's a good guy, he would swipe it, because we need that, for later, maybe, in case this plan doesn't work.
So, I do appreciate that Hela is kicking all of their asses, and nothing they can do can stop it. So they have to resort to literal Deus Ex Machina.
It's better than Deus Ex Machina when it was established in advance. This is a thing.
Like I said, it's a literal Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, literal, yeah.
Yeah, Surtur basically comes up and starts smashing the island of Asgard to bits. And Hela's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. You know what's also confusing now I think of it? If her whole deal is that the more time she spends in Asgard, the more powerful she gets. But the first time we see her, she's on Earth and she smashes Thor's hammer like it's nothing. And doesn't... I don't know how you can get much more powerful than that. So it's like, did she get an upgrade?
Thor said it was forged from a white dwarf or something.
Yeah,
so,
it was something...
What the shit?
She should have gone... At some point, having spent enough time in Asgard, she charges up into, one-winged angel form, you know what I mean?
Her stupid helmet gets even more spiky.
Yeah, or she, her whole body changes, I don't care. But the point is, wow, she's at super mode now, and the only way to take her down is with the nuke,
Okay, so Surtur basically, at this point, they've evacuated all of the Asgardian civilians onto this...
Which, by the way, there's only 1,000 civilians in all of Asgard.
Good luck with creating a stable breeding population with that.
Good luck with... How many people did they start with? Because it looks like a city. You think there'd be 1 million folks in there? No,
but
there's maybe 1,000 tops.
Yeah, but they're immortal, so I'm betting the reproduction rate slowed dramatically so as to prevent overpopulation.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so anyway, they get them all off the thing. I like this idea. They say that Asgard is not a place, it is a people. It's mildly philosophical.
And Rock Dude, whose name I never remember, Krog, goes, well, as long as the foundation of Asgard is intact, it doesn't matter that the top part of it is destroyed. We can rebuild it, and it will be a home for any dispossessed aliens and everyone in the galaxy. And then Asgard explodes like it was hit by the Death Star laser. Never mind, the foundation's gone.
Yeah,
and they keep we bring this up, but they bring
Yep.
in humor into it again and again.
Yep, Thor becomes the proper king of Asgard, and there's another joke about where we're going to go next, and then finally decides on Earth they're going to found a new colony in presumably Norway, because Odin specifically said Asgard could be here while standing in Norway.
Well, you could just mean on Midgar, but...
Yeah, but come on, like, you're a Viking civilization. Where are you going to put it? Norway. Or
I was going to say Mars, but
Scandinavia in general, or Mars. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Vikings of Mars. I hope we brought oxygen.
I would read that. The Vikings of Mars.
That sounds like a spin-off to John Carter. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That's be awesome.
Right.
Anyways, so... And then the post-credit stinger is them going, so, you think we'll be okay on Earth? Yeah. No, I mean, do you think I'll be okay on Earth?
Because I'm Loki and everyone hates me. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're doomed. Okay. Well, Earth should be fine. And then a gigantic spaceship looms over theirs.
Yeah, no further explanation.
Yeah.
I presume that spaceship shows up in Infinity War.
Yeah, I can only assume.
But yeah, I want to go and count the moments or ideas that could have been more dramatic had they not been undercut by humor. Number 1, Odin is dead. And we get a little bit of Thor, like, praying for him to find peace in Valhalla, but he is not, through the rest of the film, which only takes place over, like, 3 days, tinged with a sense of grief and rage and all this stuff. Like, oh, sure, he's mad at Hela, but in the same way he was mad at, like, all the previous villains he's punched. You know, it wasn't really special and personal, really.
And it wasn't even Hela that killed him. Technically, Loki had more to do with the death of his dad than Hela did.
I don't know. Why did Odin die again?
Number 2. Why did Odin die?
Just,
I don't want to be in this movie anymore. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And then I die by turning into gold sparkles. And maybe giving them gold lung disease? I don't know.
Gold lung disease. That's
2. Hela's Valkyrie's backstory. Any attempt at it was just either not handled well or it was undercut by humor.
Sort of thin, yeah. Not enough time spent on that.
Number 3, those gladiator dudes. We've been slaves forced to fight for their lives.
Yeah, that could have been a lot. To speak of earlier bit of the mass uprising scene that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Imagine if there'd been a lot of pathos built up into how much they'd suffered, you know? And that it would mean something, that they're gotten their freedom back. And no, it's just they're kind of in the background, doing background things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Krog doesn't seem remotely upset that he's a slave. Like, remotely. Hi, yeah, I do some of the cheaper fights, whatever, you know. Get the crowds rolling. And I'm going to lead a revolution now, even though I apparently don't give a damn. Because his voice does not allow him to give a damn about anything. It'd be kind of fun to see Krog actually get pissed, you know? Like, much as I like it, it's neat that the rock guy has, like, that kind of voice, I'd like to see him have a wider range of emotions overall.
When you have less of a range than Groot?
Yeah, he does have less of a range than Groot. He's honestly really just one note in all his appearances. Exactly one emotional tone.
And when you have less emotional tone than a guy whose only line is "I am Groot" over and over again, yeah, you don't really no.
Yeah, no.
Okay, the destruction of fucking Asgard.
Yeah, which he says briefly, like, what have I done? But then, like, it's fine. Everyone's fine. Oh, okay. You blew up Asgard!
The Death of the Warriors 3, which, yes, I'm still pissed at that.
Yeah, that happened so blink of an eye. I was like, is that one of the warriors? Oh, they're all dead now. Okay, never mind.
Let's see. Like, it wasn't really humor, but you could have handled Scourge's death a lot better. His character arc could have been handled a lot better.
Yeah. The idea of the weight of leadership, you know, Thor becomes king, and that's a big moment, and then there's, like, that's got to be sandwiched between 2 jokes again. You know, there was some movie review guy I saw on YouTube recently who was talking about, there's a moment in Spider-Man 2 where Peter, like, decides to return to the role of Spider-Man, and it's taken completely seriously, like, because he took a little retirement, if you remember. There is no joke at the end to undercut it. And then he contrasted it to the moment in Doctor Strange where he finally puts on the cloak for the first time and it's all kind of cool. He's looking in the mirror and then there's a little joke. And it's like, dang it, sometimes you don't want the little joke in there because you want something to actually be sincere. And I get that. I mean, and then again, the comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy, because there's so much humor in there, but damn, was there genuine pathos, especially in that second movie.
Oh my god, yes. And even in the first movie, there was pathos.
It really was.
I mean, and again, it's a story where two of the characters are introduced as a bounty hunting raccoon and his pet tree.
Yeah, and then it came out of nowhere, but it still seems so proper. In the first one, where Rocket briefly, he's like his drunk at one point, and he's all like, "Oh yeah, people think I'm a lab experiment, whatever, and I'm a freak," and I'm like, "Oh wow, that's a sensible part of his internal character and backstory and stuff." Even when it comes up briefly, it felt like it really clicked, as opposed to Valkyrie's backstory of like something bad happened and it just didn't seem to click as much as it should have.
Yeah, or where the fuck did Hela come from?
Yeah.
Where was Hela?
Where was this prison?
Why did Odin never say, "Okay, in case I die, here's the shit you should do"?
Yeah. What's up with her relationship to Thor, for instance? They're siblings, and she's just like, "Well, I'm superior, and now I will kill you." And okay,
for no reason.
But like a lot of people do that, villain-wise, and it would be interesting, for instance, to have someone who really wanted Thor on her side, ruling the galaxy as brother and sister, as it were, and could really feel personally betrayed,
like in
by
Azula.
Like,
except with a soul.
Yeah, like Azula. Yeah. Azula's much more interesting than Hela. Hulk's whole I don't know what he thinks of anything and what he's remembering at any time, and Banner's fear of becoming the Hulk permanently, that could have been a bigger moment. And they had to make a joke out of it as he falls off the thing, and it was funny, but you could imagine, I mean, this is a guy who's, in theory, going to his grave, right? He's afraid, in theory, that he's really never going to come back as Bruce Banner. Yeah. That's a big moment, and also kind of contradictory to Avengers 1, where he can, like, transform into Hulk on command.
Okay,
and he's okay
but
with
the Hulk's clearly changed at this point.
The Hulk has changed. He does say that much, yes. But, again, we could have had more space to build up that sense of fear and sacrifice and, being willing to, in a way, trust his alter ego and hope that he'll return control back at some point,
Yeah.
So there was just a lot there. Still a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun to watch, but this is a fridge logic heavy movie.
It is, and I worry that the MCU is going to be running out of steam over the next few years. If everyone becomes another Iron Man clone,
or a Guardians of the Galaxy
clone, everything joke is undercut.
That being said, I am looking forward to Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, I'm willing to watch it. I just wonder, beyond that, maybe, there's 2 Infinity Wars. Beyond Infinity War 2, will they still have good ideas, really? I don't know, man. Yeah. Okay.
So,
we'll find out. No, I'm not sure.
We're currently watching My Hero Academia together.
Oh, yeah. There's thanks to our one of very few commenters who recommended that, so we started watching that show, and we'll review it later. Good beginning. So.
Yeah, it's one of the few animes I've seen that actually impressed me from the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of them that I've seen recently have been either very formulaic or very heavy on fan service, which
is its own formula, honestly. Anime in general used to be more unique, and they've gotten into some formulas the last decade or so.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see people that are breaking the mold.
Anyways,
I guess that's about it.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Soxons.
We're signing off.